Hello ladies and gentlemen, Holotide here, and today I want to talk about the solo experience in Marathon, and if you are playing it wrong. I've seen a ton of videos on YouTube talking about the solo player experience, whether it's just doing solo fill and you're going up against teams of 3, or if you're playing as Rook. And most players are coming into this game off a diet of Call of Duty and Apex or Halo or Destiny PvP, and they're bringing that same energy. They sprint into zones, they push every gunshot they hear, they treat every encounter like a team deathmatch where the goal is kills, and then they die, and then they lose their gear, and they wonder why the game feels unfair. And it's not unfair, it's just you're thinking about this all wrong. One of my favorite streamers and content creators was playing this game, and he comes from Halo, and he's one of the best FPS players I know personally, way better than I am. And the more I was watching him and the more we were talking about his experience with the game playing solo, the more I realized that this is a problem that a lot of people have. You have to fundamentally change how you approach your session when you play solo in Marathon. So today, I want to help fix it. I'm going to try to walk you through exactly how to play solo in Marathon, covering 2 approaches, dropping in as a regular shell with crew fill off, and dropping in as Rook. I want to talk about the mindset, the loadout, and why this game punishes aggression and rewards patience pretty much every single time. Now, there are going to be some of you who are gods at the game, and you're going to say, Holotide, it just doesn't matter to me. I can do whatever I want. And that's fine. Go play the game. I don't know why you're really here in the first place. I am not some kind of FPS god. So I try to make content for people that are like me. I think the word casual gets thrown around as almost a slur, and I don't believe that that's true. I think that casuals actually make up the backbone of most games. So if you find this useful, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to hit 26,200 subs by the end of the year. We can absolutely do it. I know a ton of you watch the videos and you aren't subscribed, so if you want to stay up to date with Marathon stuff, whether it's guides like this, builds, lore, story, anything like that, this is the channel for you, and let's get into it. Now, before we touch on like shells or a loadout, we need to talk about what Marathon actually is, because a lot of you are misreading the game at a fundamental level, and it's costing you runs before you even start. Marathon is a PvE extraction shooter, and that sentence has 3 main parts, and all 3 really matter. PvP, yes, there are other people playing the game, and they want what you have or the loot that's on the map. The PvE, there is AI enemies. They are also trying to beat you up. And extraction, the goal of every single run is not kills. It's not damage, put on players. It's not even objectives. The goal is to get out alive with the loot that you have. So when you're loading into a lobby as a solo player, you're one person against all of that. You got no backup, no one watching angles you can't cover. You are by yourself. So here's the rule that you need to internalize before everything else. Every fight that you get into is a gamble, and you are always under-resourced compared to a full squad. So, in my opinion, that means your job as a solo player is to not get in every single fight that you can. It's to fight fewer fights and win those. You want to ensure that you are not playing fair, that the odds are in your favor, and that you're going to walk out with some really nice stuff. And in this game, the players who are thriving playing as a solo player are not the ones with the best aim skill or best FPS movement or anything like that. They're the ones who are taking in the map, using their awareness, listening to gunfights, deciding not to push until they know that the other team has either been wiped out and the other team is busy healing or looting, and they can either make the decision to try to take them out and potentially get 6 bags of gear, or let the other team loot and take all the scraps. That awareness, that information is your most valuable resource in this game. And please remember, dying is a part of this game. Everybody dies in this game. I've watched streamers with so many hours already in the game who have played other extraction shooters, who have been playing this game in beta or alpha, and they all have runs where literally nothing goes right and they get wiped and they lose all their stuff. And that is normal. It's part of the gameplay loop. Don't let a bad session convince you that you're doing something fundamentally wrong. Shake it off. Go again. Now that we talked about that, Let's talk about the two distinct ways that you can play solo and marathon, and they're pretty different from each other. The first method is turning off crew fill and dropping in with whatever runner shell you want to use. You're in solo queue, you can bring your full loadout, your vault gear, best weapons. You're dropping in at the start of the match with everyone else, and this is probably higher risk. And I'm not so sure that it is a higher reward path, and we'll talk about that more with the Rook section. But going off of that, method 2 is the Rook. This is an entirely different shell built specifically for solo players. You literally cannot queue with a team if you're on Rook, so you drop into matches that are already, seems like 10 to 15 minutes in. That means the initial chaos has settled, squads have been fighting, dying, people are looting. You're entering in that aftermath. And with the Rook's abilities, you can walk straight past UESC AI, like you don't even exist to them. You're not really here to fight, you're here to scavenge. But I will say, the further you upgrade your factions and unlock those capstones to get Rook better gear, he is an absolute menace later on. In the beginning, I feel like if you don't have those type of resources, you're playing the Rook in a different way. You're doing resource runs and things like that, just getting a few weapons here or there, trying to get lucky. But man, once you start to level him up, he's a demon. But with those two approaches, they need two completely different mindsets. So let's talk about them one at a time, starting with the harder of the two. In my opinion, not every shell is designed equally for solo play. Some of them are built around team synergy, with abilities that shine when you have other players alongside you. And when you go in alone, those shells get significantly weaker. Now, you can play whatever you want, of course, and you can find success on any shell. I would say that a common consensus is that the Assassin is arguably the best shell for solo in the game with active camo and stuff like that. He's very good. Can't tell you how many times I've died to a assassin in the corner in camo and he just comes sprinting out and starts knifing me from behind. It's a very unpredictable shell to go up against. It can create confusion with its smokes and things like that, and that's something that you can absolutely exploit. We've talked about how Triage is also a decent choice, even though his reboot ability doesn't really get used, as you don't have teammates, but you can EMP other players with it. But having to not worry about consumables as much, like your patch kits and med kits, health kit things, is nice because of your little robot, so you're not just fully reliant on that. But I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm not gonna tell you what's the best shell for you. It's not so much the kit as the player. As for your loadout, I think a lot of players just bring the same kit that they would bring in with the squad. But in solo, every little square in your loadout matters. A self-revive is almost close to mandatory, even though it does seem against other solo players that it's a little hard to get off. You know, they know there's only one person there, so they're just gonna try to bum rush you and finish you off. But the times that you can use it, I mean, it literally offers you a second chance, and they're really not that expensive once you unlock them. The advanced patch kits and shield charges are so important. I try to pack enough to go 2 or 3 engagements without having to start scavenging for other heals on the map. Weapons, versatility, man. Sometimes it's gotta be close range for a hallway fight, and then something for distance. To me, the shoddy is too hotty. I almost always pack it. And then I've really been loving the M77. The volley rifle too. Oh my gosh, I do love that. But keep it tight, keep it practical. Every slot that you fill with something you absolutely don't need is a slot that could have been used for healing or ammo. And I will say, free kits do exist for a reason. If you're on a bad streak, resources are low, if you're just lost a good kit and you're not ready to take everything from the vault and lose it again, just grab the free loadout and go anyway. There's no cooldown. You can run it back to back to back to back to back as many times as you want. Shout out Charlie. And it kind of eliminates that gear fear because a free kit is still a run. Like, it still counts. The stuff that you get off of the free kit, you're able to use. So it takes that little gear fear away. I will also say, try to use your knife as much as possible. It's, you know, quieter than any gun in the game. It's able to take out low-level AI enemies pretty fast, so save your ammo, use your knife. Also, I see a lot of people who don't realize that you actually sprint faster if you have your knife out, so please do that. I also personally like having smoke grenades. I think they're worth a slot, especially for the extraction. Popping a smoke at the beacon helps give you a little bit of a window that teams or other players can't shoot through cleanly. A lot of people do like to camp exfils, so either having like that or a little bubble shield I think goes a long way. Let's talk about the mindset just real quick. And we've kind of touched on it before about being aggressive. A player will hear gunshots and they just immediately start running towards it. They spot a player and they immediately push or start shooting. And they do this without even thinking that this is not team deathmatch. This could get me killed. You've noticed, if you played Marathon enough, that the maps are designed to funnel movement. There are long sight lines and they set up situations where players could be surrounded or picked off in the open. Now, if you're in a squad, getting flanked is something that you can recover from. Your teammates can watch angles, you can heal. Solo, there's no safety net. Every time you get caught in this situation, it's a wipe. Now, you guys might think this is stupid and that it really doesn't matter, but I'm gonna be honest. Especially if you're not some aim god or anything like that. Literally clear corners, check elevations, listen. That's one thing that every player can do. They can have good awareness. Having information in a game like this is your best weapon. If you're in a situation where you know you can't win, you need to learn how to disengage. And quite honestly, this is one of the most unnatural things for like shooter players to accept. I think even I'm still struggling with it. You know, ego challenging and all that stuff. But if a fight isn't going as good as it should be, retreat. Break the line of sight, heal, maybe find a position where you can pop a claymore down. Change the fight back to your favor. Create opportunities for you to succeed. Go from being the hunted to the hunter. I also want to say that it's, again, not just about getting kills and stuff. Like, set an objective before you go in. Are you going for specific resources? Are you doing a contract? Are you trying to get faction material upgrades? Make sure you know what you're doing when you get into the map. And there are resources out there that will tell you where certain materials are, where certain resources spawn. So you're not just running around aimlessly on the map wondering why you can't find biomass or something. Use those resources. Play with a purpose. And once you have it, you can leave. Don't overstay. Commit to that goal. Ignore distractions if you can. Go in with the mindset that this is a resource run. It's a contract run. And go do those things. I think that focus is what will help build progress. And remember, you can also go to your faction like skill trees and see what resources you need, and you can track them. So you get the little eye icon and you know that you should pick that up. You're minimizing time when you're looting, wondering if I should pick this up. Do I need this? I can't remember if I need this material. And that's cutting on time where you could be shot at. All right, let's talk about playing as the Rook. Now, I think when the game first dropped, a lot of people saw the Rook as like a lesser option of the two. You know, that people talk about, oh, the sweet, sweet baby Rooks, and oh, be nice to the Rooks. This is not like a baby shell. It is a completely different philosophy of a shell of how you play. And I think once you understand, it becomes one of the best ways to build your vault in the game. And again, you're not risking anything playing as the Rook. If you die, you'll lose that loot's run, but everything else is untouched. There's no punishment for dying. And I think that that does change everything about how you make decisions in game. But let's talk about his abilities really quick. For those who don't know, you got Signal Mask, and that will hide your identity against the UESC AI. They will completely ignore you. Don't run, sprint, or anything like that, though. Don't take damage. It will break your little mask, and then they will aggro you, and that's not good. And then your prime ability will slowly restore your health over time, but that also stops if you take damage. And honestly, this ability can keep you alive between encounters. So if you do decide to play as a Rook, I think that you need to let other people fight, and then you clean up after it. You're gonna get into the map. What are you gonna do first? Listen. Can you hear gunshots? Are people fighting? What POIs look like they've been looted and things like that? And then just calmly go about your business. And like I said before, I think at the beginning of the game's life cycle, there was like a lot of people that painted Rooks as not aggressive, or that you should treat them nicely. A lot of players will see the shell and just let you go. And if that is happening, consider yourself lucky, because as the season goes on, more and more Rooks are going to ruin that. And remember, you're also going up against teams that are fully kitted, so every fight that you're picking as a Rook is a fight where you are completely outgeared, and outnumbered. So again, treat it like it's a spy game or something. Also, Rook cannot do faction contracts, but you do get some SIAC rep each time you exfil, so keep that in mind. They also just buff the amount of experience you get. And remember, look at those capstones. Get those Rook upgrades, and each run you'll feel more and more empowered. Now, which of these is right for you? I would say if you're new to Marathon and you've unlocked them by getting, I think it's the level 3, start with the Rook. Not because it's like quote unquote easier or anything like that, but it removes the fear of playing the game. You can learn the maps, you can learn locations, how to read the lobby, build your awareness, and you do all this without putting your actual vault weapons and gear at risk. And you treat every death and every run as something that you can learn from, and it basically costs you nothing. Now, if you've got the basics down and you're dying to go to a regular shell and you want to go play as Destroyer or something, go for it. But Rook really does teach you that fundamental patience factor. It forces you to observe the map before actually acting. It creates a discipline in your gameplay. And don't just treat Rook as a shell that it's, something that you learn the game with and then you never use it again. I still love to do Rook runs. I think they're a ton of fun in this game. Going on Outpost and hitting the lottery because every team that was in there was fully kitted in purples and golds and stuff, and then there's just too much loot for a team to pick up, so they have to leave stuff behind. Feels like the lottery. So don't sleep on him. To finish, solo marathon is not about being the best player in the lobby. It's about being one of the smartest players and one of the most aware. Every time you hear a fight, your instincts are probably going to say push. It's just how you've been built over time when you're playing games. But I really do feel like you have to change that mindset in this game. Every time that you've accomplished your objective, just go ahead and leave. The game will reward your patience. The loot will be there. You don't need to be some type of superhero. You just need to be one of the last ones standing or one of the first to leave. But let me know in the comments whether you've been running Rook or you go in with a regular shell, and if you've got any type of strategies. There's a ton of ways to play this game. These are just my thoughts on how to play the game a little bit more smarter for those who maybe don't have a ton of time to learn the game or who haven't built out their vault and gear and stuff. But if you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like down below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace!